Welcome. Uh, so here we are after dark. Erdogan's clinging on to life in Turkey. Apparently had a myocardial infarction, heart attack. Although apparently it was with dinner with the Russians. So all sorts of rumors coming out that perhaps that was poisoning, something like that. The Russians love to do that stuff. I don't know why the Russians would poison him, though, because Turkey's been doing its best to kind of screw with NATO a bit, lean towards Russia. There was rumors that Turkey was going to try to leave NATO. But at the same time, like, Turkish defense contractors are supplying drones to Ukraine that are just whooping on Russians. A lot of ins and outs and what have yous on that one. Legal got party hats. Awesome. BOFH, tinfoil hat time. Do you think Erdogan was poisoned by Putin or someone in NATO who felt he was doing more harm than good and needed to be gone for NATO to succeed? Now, Turkey is one heck of a mess diplomatically. I have little doubt that the U.S. kind of nodded and gave an okay to supporting a coup there a couple years ago, which resulted in like the disappearing of some 60,000 dissidents in Turkey. Erdogan siege control even harder. So politically, Erdogan is an Islamist. He's a far-right theocratic authoritarian on paper, but is much more of an autocrat in general. Turkey has not been the best ally for anyone. When the Syria conflict kicked off, Turkey and Putin got into it. There was a jet that got shot down, and they were almost like fisticuffs. And all of a sudden, like a week later, they're like, "You're my best friend in the entire world, Russia. I love you so much." But there's military bases in Turkey. Turkey is part of the European Union, member of NATO. But Turkey also has runaway inflation that's cannot be stopped. It's not the first time in the last 15 years that Turkey's had runaway inflation, and they may have to like reissue currency to take care of it. But inflation's like 90% in Turkey, and Turkey is one of the most modernized industrial nations in the world. They're an industrial powerhouse, but it's not survivable if your economy's in ruins and your political system is garbage. And there's a lot of folks in Turkey that are much more Western leaning than they would be Eastern leaning towards, communist blocs and things. Like they see the benefit of having a strong economy, being out there in the world, being able to travel and see things and do trade and, receive imports from the world. And I think in general, the population is just kind of like, well, we got a crappy government. We're going to make the best of it. Not much we can do about that, especially after the failed coup attempt. And it really could be anyone at this point. Like, the Russians might want him gone. NATO might want him gone. His people probably want him gone. It could be anyone in there. The Kurds want him gone. So if there is a poisoning, it's like an Agatha Christie novel. You're going to have to get everybody into a room and have Hercule Poirot go through and like tick off every single solitary motive from everyone and work through the entire system. Because outside of that, I'm not sure who to point a finger to, because everybody gets fingers pointed at them at this point. Let's see here. But yeah, so, I mean, Erdogan being gone is probably a good thing unless whoever replaces him is even worse, right? Like status quo, that sucks. Someone marginally improved, cool. Somebody worse, ew, shit, right? So, we'll have to wait and see. He's not dead yet, but it sounds like he might be, or really close to it. We'll see. We'll see where that goes. Purportedly stupid. Hey, Houston. Too late for me, so I'll catch it on the back end. In the meantime, what dirty act is Putin into? Autocratic asphyxiation? I think Putin is into probably all sorts of weird things because you don't become that type of, all powerful dictator without having weird things. I remember watching the Sochi Olympics. There was that little Russian girl who looked like she was about 10 years old, who was like the favorite for gold in figure skating. And Putin seemed really, 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 really interested in her. And that gave me the willies. I was like, huh. He's a dirty pervert. He's always had like lots of girlfriends. There's been rumors about young boys, but that happens with every Russian leader. They always have rumors about that stuff, like the Greeks. Right now, I don't think he can do anything about it. He's probably on so many cancer meds. I don't know if you read the reports that came out, and it could be true, it could be lies, but if whatever it was fantastic subterfuge. But apparently, there was disturbance in the residence of one of Putin's mansions, and when one of his aides came in, he was naked on the floor. Oh no, sorry, he was in a wet white t-shirt, otherwise naked, wearing one black sock next to a soiled diaper, crying. It seemed to not know who he was or where he was, and he was like full-blown medication-induced dementia. So they're saying that he has thyroid cancer. He showed up, he had a big scar on his neck the other day. So now his double, who goes places, you have to have a scar on his neck. I don't know how much longer he has. There's been evidence he's got some degenerative disorder. It's causing him to like shake, but that could be medicine as well, causing that to happen. Autocratic. Autocratic asphyxiation. So I don't know how much longer he has. And, big leadership deaths happen in threes. So if Erdogan goes, who's next? Putin? And if Putin goes, what the heck happens to the Ukraine war? Because there's the power vacuum. And I'm thinking about, there's no named successor. There's no one's like, this is who's going to take over for me. Because Putin cannot admit that somebody's going to take over for him someday. So, anytime you've got a war going on, the leadership dies, all the generals and power players flee back to the capital, try and take power. And this is as old as history. I mean, the Mongols would have taken North Africa in 1245 or whenever it was they're in North Africa. There was several million Mongols in the Mongol horde. They had just wiped Baghdad off the map. They'd taken Damascus. They'd run roughshod across the Sinai Peninsula, and they were now about to take Cairo. And there was millions of Mongols. There's like 200,000 Mamluk, Turkish mercenaries to like guard Cairo, which was the last sort of bastion of the caliphate at this point. And the Mongols were going to just wipe the floor with them because that's what the Mongols do. You cannot beat the Mongols if they're going to run you over, because that's no one ever had that point. And Genghis Khan died. So Kublai Khan, all his cousins, brothers, they all went, oh, I want to become emperor now. And they all took a good chunk of their armies, went back to go fight over being ruler of the world. And then the Mamluks were able to whoop on what was left of the Khan army and stave off the Mongol hordes from taking over all of North Africa. I have a feeling that if Putin kicks the bucket, you're going to see that as well. You're going to see, what's the dude from Wagner Group, Pidsgroben, taken off. All these guys are going to jockey for position to become leader of Russia, and it's like becoming the leader of a corpse at that point. But it will eviscerate what semblance of leadership there is, and on the front, and then Russia's just going to get steamrolled, and that'll be that. So, die Putin.